What's up, JEFusion fans? This is Philip and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to talk about how Kamen Rider Revice's writers could possibly be inspired by American comics. Now, before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that this video is not intended for viewers under the age of 13, so please be advised. And to start off this video, I would like to say that I'm actually inspired, or this video was actually inspired by a Japanese YouTuber named Leon Channel, who's basically the biggest toy reviewer in Japan, and he does talk a lot about Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, mostly actually, although he does review other toys. But when it comes to reviewing shows, he talks about tokusatsu mainly. And a recent video he posted actually again talks about how Revi and the other writers are possibly inspired by American superheroes. And if you guys are watching this video, you probably have seen already, the third Kamen Rider who's going to come out on Kamen Rider Revice. Actually, this coming Sunday. So, yeah, he definitely is Spider-Man. But considering that, you also probably have been seeing photos on Facebook, especially where people have been calling that particular shot of Kamen Rider demons fighting Kamen Rider evil a quote-unquote Batman v Spider-Man thing. And that's one thing that we're going to touch upon in this video. So let's start with the main protagonist, Kamen Rider Revice. So I have here the Sodo as an illustration. But if you look at his face, right? If you think this grin is familiar, then you might think that Revi is inspired by Venom. And considering how Venom is becoming popular again with its recent movie, and I think he is also going to appear in the latest Spider-Man film, No Way Home, as part of, bringing the Spider-Verse together. So, I if the main design team, for the costumes have been taking inspiration from Venom, we don't know. But looking at Revi's face, at least, you can see that grin, the eye design. Sure, it looks kind of big, but the shape generally, you might see some, maybe not a lot, but some kind of semblance to Venom. Now, of course, you probably won't believe it, considering the coloration of Revi here. He's candy pink with metallic blue with all these rad slashes that kind of evoke the 90s. But look at Vice. We can say that Vice is Iki, aka Revi's symbiote. And if we look at a Venom inspiration, although he doesn't really have this kind of face, Vice's color is predominantly black with some white trimmings, although his eyes are kind of blue. But again, if we look at the relationship between, like, for example, Eddie Brock and the Venom symbiote, we could say the same for Iki and Revi. Now, or sorry, Iki and Vice. When the names still confuse me. It's gonna take some getting used to. But anyways, speaking of Vice, sure, design-wise, he looks like Venom, or at least the coloring. Because if you look at the face, I'd say, Revi looks more like Venom in that regard. But character-wise, I may or may not have mentioned this in my first impressions video, but Vice's character, he is goofy. He is, of course, a major protagonist, if not a deuteragonist of the show, but he definitely provides most of the humor. And one main characteristic of Vice is that he always, in one way or another, breaks the fourth wall. A good example would be is countdowns before the enemy explodes, like 3, 2, 1. But he is always, and I mean always, looking at the camera, looking at the audience. And again, he has a lot of scenes, especially like in episode 1 or episode 2, where he directly talks to the audience just like Deadpool. So, again, maybe visually he is a little bit more like Venom because of the coloration scheme, but the personality could be, based on that, Deadpool. So, now, moving on to Kamen Rider Evil. Now, I could see a couple of, characters that make sense. So, the first one that you would notice is that Kamen Rider Evil's theme or his suit design is inspired by a bat because he uses the bat vice stamp. And of course, you're gonna think that he's inspired by Batman. Now, an interesting design on Kamen Rider Evil's suit is the logo on his left chest. Now, you could tell that it is a bat-shaped outline with somewhat spray-painted yellow around it. So, if we put that crest onto the center, it will definitely evoke a Batman feel. However, as I mentioned just now, that there's a lot of like splatter or like spray paint designs on Evil's suit, particularly on his armor. Like if you look at his eyes, they're not really uniformly shaped, but they look like blobs of paint. And guess which character in Batman we associate with paint? The Joker. Now, you could also notice on Kamen Rider Evil's suit that he does have some like green trimmings. So we also associate the color green with the Joker, although it's not his main color. But if you look specifically at the more recent live action Batman films, where all the Jokers seemingly share the color green as their hair color. I mean, it's not always the case, perhaps, but in a lot of iterations of the Joker, he does have green hair. So, we do have a possible combination of Batman, at least for the overall suit design, and Joker for some of the details on the suit, and especially the behavior of Kagero. Now, I'm gonna talk about Kagero in a future video because if I do say more about him, it's going to be spoilers, so please wait for that. But nonetheless, what Kagero and Joker seem to share is that somewhat desire for chaos. Now, we don't know much about Kagero just yet, like I've said, but, it seems to be the case. So, it may be possible that Joker is an inspiration, albeit for the personality of this Kagero character. So, moving on to the third rider, Kamen Rider Demons. Now, like I've said, he could probably be based on Spider-Man. Because if you look at the bodysuit that is used, it's a combination of the iconic red and blue that Spider-Man has, right? When you think of Spider-Man, he's red and blue. Now, uh, we can also see like web designs, or not by that I don't mean like designing a website. No, like there are web motifs on his armor, so you can see like they're asymmetrical, but clearly you can see webs as the inspiration for Kamen Rider Demon's armor. But again, looking at that overall aesthetic, you would think that he is inspired by Spider-Man, or the people who designed this suit were inspired by Spider-Man. Now, we don't have any information on the fourth rider yet, but on the Leon channel video that I've seen, there are other possible candidates for design. Like I've seen Leon channel talk about or show like possible inspirations such as Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, and Wolverine. Again, these are all possible choices for the next Kamen Rider. So, assuming that this could be George Kirisaki's rider, if he is going to be the fourth rider to appear. And Leon Channel points out that it could possibly be Iron Man. Now, this is the one that makes most sense of all the four choices or the four characters that he mentioned, because Kamen Riders designed by George Karisaki, right? Or at least the Kamen Riders in Revice. However, comparing it to Iron Man, well, George Karisaki could be like Tony Stark in the sense that they could create their own suits of armor. Again, assuming that George is going to be the fourth rider, so it makes sense for his suit to look like Iron Man's, or it may take some sort of inspiration from Iron Man, given that Tony Stark also created his own Iron Man suits. The idea of Hulk could also be possible, but I've never seen a Kamen Rider, like be so muscularly built. Like I have seen like muscular suits in Super Sentai, but in Kamen Rider that's never been done, I believe. But how do you explicitly show the muscles through armor, or possibly like do something like the gorilla genome, uh, maybe like punching Kong, like a very bulky looking suit of armor. Could it be like the Hulkbuster? I'm not sure. So I'm just imagining things right now, but again, from the four characters that Leon Channel mentioned, at least Iron Man could make the most sense. But given the design choices on the suits of the Revice riders, whether they would come from like either Marvel or DC, so it really doesn't matter. But again, using American superheroes as an inspiration for Japanese superheroes again is interesting. But now that I mention it, it's not the first time they've done so. So we go back way in the past with Battle Fever J. Now, remember that Battle Fever J is a collaboration work between Marvel and Toei, because they were designed to be the Avengers of Japan. So, again, this isn't really a direct collaboration work between Toei and Marvel, of course, but it is possible for, the design team of Kamen Rider Revice to take inspiration from American superheroes if this is going to be the case. Now, I have never seen or heard of such, statements, especially officially from Toei, that their riders' suits are based on American superheroes or comic book characters. But even if it were the case, it's interesting to see. So, yeah. Overall, I like the idea, and I'm interested to see what kind of character George, or what kind of rider design George is going to make next. Again, if assuming he is going to be the fourth rider. So, let me know in the comments which uh, American superhero would you think would make a good inspiration for the next Kamen Rider to appear in Kamen Rider Revice. So let me know in the comments below. For me, I do think that the Iron Man theory, or the Iron Man concept, could be the most sensible for George, again, if he is going to be the next rider in the show. So again, tell me which American superhero would you like to see become an inspiration for the next rider in Revice. So again, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much guys for watching, and if you did like this video, please do leave a like, comment, share this video, subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell so you get the latest from JEFusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!